there is no change, I would say, because the Chinese were very, very interested in time, with their solar-lunar calendar, with the stems and branches system. No other culture has that, not in the whole world. And they use it today. Every single Chinese calendar has it on every single page. But timelessness, they were massively interested in timelessness. They talk about the immortals.
I'm Michael Max, and this is Geological, the podcast that curates East Asian medicine and methods through the power of conversation. No one is told at the beginning of an acupuncture career that they're setting off in a leaky boat, that the book knowledge, the supervised clinical experience, social media discussions, and your imagined future all begin to come apart as soon as you're on your own in clinic. Maybe the educational institutions could be faulted. It's easy enough to look at what's missing and to blame the system. That certainly has been one of my favorite ways of avoiding my part in the troubles I've faced. But I suspect that because acupuncture, and more importantly, the perspective of East Asian medicine, it doesn't fit into a neat collection of flowchartable standards, because it is a medicine that is exquisitely sensitive to context. And what's more, we're dealing with complex biological systems that are ever in motion. So what worked in the last treatment might not be at all what's helpful in the next. There is tension between the certainty of the fundamentals and uncertainty of how they apply in any given moment to a patient. We set off thinking that we know what we're doing. Often enough we do. Often enough, not quite. Understanding how to practice medicine is an iterative process. And as with the tidal flows of yin and yang, the solutions you discover at one stage will be the source of obstacles somewhere further down the road. So, back to the leaky boat. As with any endeavor, we set off with the best of preparation, but no real idea of the journey ahead. Some of what you start with is useful. Some, in time, you'll discover is not. Along the way, there are new ideas, and you'll need to work out where in your mental framework they go, and how to update your thinking and practice without feeling disloyal to the teachers that have helped you along the way, and work out how to dismantle cherished ideas that have provided supportive scaffolding that now needs to be taken down. Here are 9 things I found to be reliable about the falling apart that comes with learning how to practice medicine. 1. Being comfortable with iterative learning is required. 2. Attention to the fundamentals, it's essential. 3. Putting your ideas onto your patients is a bit of violence. Don't try to colonize them with your beliefs. 4. Success is dangerous because of the tendency it creates to fit other patients into that box. 5. Traveling with a sense of comfort with uncertainty is worth cultivating. 6. There are cycles of development that we revisit throughout our lives. It's not, this same old stuff again. It's an opportunity to learn more about something that you missed earlier. 7. Nothing done in life gets thrown away. We are constantly recycling and repurposing what we've learned. 8. What's avoided becomes a blind spot with a gravity that will keep you in its orbit. And finally, don't forget that the world is full of wonder. I was talking with a pal who mused that Chinese medicine is hard because it takes a lot of practice. There's an element of time and how that is essential to the seasoning required to become a skilled practitioner. That perhaps there is as much unlearning as learning that goes into the process. For sure, time is a factor, and that is something we're about to discuss in this episode with Peter Firebrace, as we explore time, timing, and the timeless. All are aspects of practice you won't learn about in school, but your practice, it will send you regular opportunities to explore this aspect of the 10,000 things. Heaven and earth have some curious ways of entangling together. We'll get into it right after this. Qiological Conversations come to you through the generous support of our sponsors and members. You have clinic challenges? Our sponsors have solutions. I'm always delighted to learn something new about acupuncture. If that describes you as well, then the Needle newsletter is for you. And would you like to be able to better help your patients by understanding their blood work? Jessica Parker can take you on that journey. Later in the show, you'll hear why I use Jane to make my office run smoothly. And Blue Poppy reminds us that there is no such thing as a small detail. Your focus and intention are important. Do be sure to visit the sponsors page on the Qiological website to take advantage of all the special offers our terrific sponsors have for listeners of the podcast. I suspect that, like me, you love acupuncture. The Needle, an email newsletter brought to you by a manual of acupuncture, provides you with useful clinical insights. Ever feel overwhelmed by what's going on in our world of traditional East Asian medical research? The Needle's fortnightly update not only summarizes findings from the latest trials, but also connects them with classical acupuncture theory and insightfully translates complex data into bite-sized, practical applications. To keep you on your toes, each issue features a point identification quiz to test your acupuncture knowledge, as well as exclusive offers from carefully selected partners like jingselfcare.com. Keep your practice informed and up to date. Sign up for free by visiting a manualofacupuncture.com and click on the Needle newsletter at the top of the page.
Your patients are so tired of hearing that their labs are normal, especially when they are clearly suffering. You can be the one that finally shows them why. I'm Dr. Jessica Parker. Join my 10-week functional medicine cohort for acupuncturists. I'll teach you exactly which labs to order, how to interpret those results through both the Eastern and functional medicine lenses. Imagine being able to confidently explain to your patients exactly why they're exhausted when they've been told time and time again that everything is just fine. And as acupuncturists, you're already amazing at reading the body and finding the root patterns. But what if you could see the microcosm of the body in a simple blood draw? Labs are not just data, but another vital sign. In this cohort, you'll discover how to spot things like thyroid dysfunction, hormone dysregulation, and hidden inflammation that Western lab interpretation often overlooks. Join me at drjessicaparker.com to elevate your practice and finally give your patients the complete answers that they've been searching for.
Peter Firebrace, welcome back to Qiological.
Thank you. But we have to start the thing on time with the Bob Dylan quote, which he probably took from somewhere else. But the quote is, "I'm sitting on my watch so I can be on time." You don't have to laugh.
Seriously. Did he really say that? That's so corny.
It's a corny song. I would say a brilliant corny song, but yeah.
Which song is this?
It's Poor Boy. P-O asterisk boy. Poor Boy.
Po' Boy.
Yeah, it's like Poor Boy. It's an excellent song. It's not in any way what you would consider a Bob Dylan song.
I don't think I've heard it. Maybe I should.
No.
I'll have to go check it out. Po' Boy.
Yeah, Poor Boy.
Okay. I'm sitting on my watch so I can be on time. Well,
Can be on time, yeah. I like it.
well, this is the topic of today's conversation. Something about time.
Yeah, there's a lot to say. People have already said a lot about time. It is, if you'll pardon the pun, it is a perennial subject. I mean, everyone who's been anyone has had something to say about time. You know, as in time waits for no one, and everything that could be said has been said.
Well, it seems that we unfold this existence of ours, strange as it is, through a thing called time. There seems to be this, I don't know, do you call it a matrix? Do you call it like a fluid? Is it but there seems to be a progression, and we can track it, and we note it, and there are seasons, or you've got clocks, and you watch your hair go from, black to gray to white.
Yeah. Or from having hair to not.
Or having hair to not. Yes.
There are all kinds of possibilities. And at different times of people's lives. I know people, smart, intelligent people who had basically no hair by the time they were 35.
Well, they say the smarter people don't have hair. They just burn it all off.
Well, there we go. I've got the wrong hairstyle. It's just as well you can't see me. For the audio people.
I don't know if that explains Einstein, though.
Well, yeah. But I should have done more. I haven't done proper research on what everybody has to say about time. But I think it's extremely interesting how people view it. Like hurry up and do something now because your time's running out is one possibility. Other people say you have all the time you need, which is the opposite. Yeah.
Maybe some people are working for a living and other people are, they don't have to work. I don't know.
I think people who are successful, they have used time well and they feel it's on their side. And maybe people who are not, it's not a nice thing to say, but who are not successful or who don't feel they're successful, they're just aware that time is, it's a long, steep walk uphill. And every year they're older and possibly less capable to do whatever it was they wanted to do. Time can be a deadly enemy or a true friend by your side. I mean, really, it can be.
Well, I would say for sure it's a deadly enemy.
But why? Why? I don't agree.
Because in the end, that's it. Like, time's up.
But that's the merciful act. Don't you think it would be worse if we were all immortals? I think death is a release. I disagree with you on that. I think death is a merciful release, especially for a lot of people I know. Their last year or 6 months or 2 months was not funny. And when they die, I'm pleased for them.
Fair enough. If you're ill and you can't enjoy the benefits of a human life, yeah, time is definitely an enemy. There is this thing, especially in modern medicine, like, well, we can do this procedure, it'll give you more time. Okay, fine. More time for what? More time for love, more time for writing, more time for enjoyment, more time for just suffering through a process that's ending. Right? But I know you've got some ideas about time because you reached out to me about this, and you've evidently been cooking something up in your alchemical laboratory over there.
Yeah, that's right. But of course, what I'm ultimately in search of is the timeless. We have to bring that in. The timeless. Yeah, because we have to bring that in. Because you're quite right. It came about because finally I got myself together to do this series, which is a 1-year series, on title, Time, Timing, and the Timeless.
Time, timing, and the timeless. I love that.
Well, it's nice. And it's actually the name of a lecture that I gave 20 years ago. I've still got the handouts. It's at the top. And now finally it's come into a more glorified phase of, me being the teacher and other people listening. And I've focused it on China and Chinese time. Because one of the good things about China is they were so good at recording what they investigated. So good at it. Like the stems and the branches, that go right back into the Shang dynasty. That is a seriously long time ago.
It's a long time, and it seems to me...
Before the proper Chinese language had been invented, really. They were on the oracle bones. And that's about time. And they had a decimal, 10 heavenly stems, and duodecimal, 12 earthly branches system, running together at the same time. And now it's quite complicated. I mean, everyone knows, not everyone, but most people know it's a fire horse year. Well, that's the stem and the branch of the year. And people talk about it as though it's fantastic and wonderful, which it is. But that's like, it's like saying you're an Aries or a Pisces or, that's a ridiculous idea. That's not a chart, because you have the stem and the branch of the year, sure, also of the month, also of the day, and of the double hour of the day. You have all these systems. You have 4 systems working in their own little cog and wheel way.
I really think of it like a clock.
Running concurrently at the same time. Yeah, but it's 4 clocks.
It's like a clock, isn't it? It's like an old pocket watch with these little gears and cogs.
But it's 4 clocks running at the same time. The 60-year cycle, it takes 60 years to do the year cycle. It takes 60 months, which is 5 years to do the month cycle. It takes 60 days, which is 2 months, to do the day cycle. And it takes 60 double hours, which is 5 days, to do the hour cycle. So you have 4 of these. And these things are going on and on and on and on. They never stop. Every day is a different stem and branch. Every month's a different stem and branch, etc. And that's one aspect of the Chinese concept of time. They have a sol-lunar calendar. So you have all the aspects to do with the sun, and then you have all the aspects to do with the moon. So they have these 3 heavy-duty things. Study the Earth's relationship with the sun, which gives you the 24 solar periods, as they're called, the Jieqi, which are 24 15-day periods through the year. But each 15-day period can be split into 3. So you have 3 5-day periods, which have aspects of nature with some fantastic names. Like we've just done one just now where the moles are transformed into the quails being a bird. So the moles at this late springtime are transformed into the quails. This yin, underground, blind creature that you never see has become a quail. That's what's happening in nature.
Which is more of a yang expression.
Exactly. It's a young, visible, flying, heaven-bound creature. And there's another fantastic one. The eagles are transformed into doves. That's...
Well, Peter, is this surprising to you, given that the Chinese philosophy and the medicine as an extension, when you come right down to it, it's yin and yang.
Absolutely, yeah.
Something's going to transform into its opposite, which I never understood when I was first in acupuncture school. It's like things turn into their opposite. How's that happen? Don't you just get more of something, and then there's just more of something? And then later I realized, you get more of something, and then it cannot not call its opposite into being.
Absolutely, yeah. But that's day and night, dark and light. That's the
tyranny and freedom.
Most fundamental.
You get enough tyranny, you'll get people fighting for freedom.
What happens if you have too much freedom?
Too much freedom, well, you know what?
That's the immortals.
If you're a libertarian, too much freedom, you might need a little regulation on that, because things can get out of hand.
Ooh.
Too much freedom, things get out of hand. I can do any damn thing I want.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not such a good idea if I don't want you sleeping with my wife. Maybe we need some guardrails on this.
But it is absolutely to do with that oscillation, yin-yang oscillation, which is at the heart of it's at the heart of time, it's at the heart of space, it's at the heart of life. We were all asleep a few hours ago, and we had a very, very different life than now when we're supposedly awake and thinking creatures.
Yes, we've gone from moles to quails.
Active in the world. We've gone from moles to quails. Exactly. And if we were warmongers, which are called hawks, aren't they, these days, not eagles. Is it the hawks and the doves? What are they called?
Hawks and doves. That's what we say. That's what we say here in the colonies.
Yeah, hawks and doves, yeah. Yeah. But that's it. The Chinese had eagles and doves, but they're talking about the same thing.
Exactly.
And they're talking about that because
they're not separate.
No, because it's spring. They're saying that spring has come. And this is what's become very interesting for me. Yeah, I mean, I like these poetic expressions, but I like them because they're true to the time. They are true to the time. Spring is a time when little birds come and, they're all falling in love and they're all nesting and mating and doing their dances. That is spring. Whoa, sorry. That is spring.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't happen in the autumn or in the winter. I know, we have a little wood at the back of our place and, we see them all coming and we feed the birds.
Yeah, so this is that timing aspect that you're talking about.
Yeah, the timing aspect. And that's so important. What I've realized is how important it is in Chinese medicine. Ultimately, I want to help my patients more. And I want to use less effort to do it. So my theory is that if you use the timing that is inherent in life, your life will be easier and the patient's life will be better because you have had the time to study these things. Even in simple things, spring, it's the liver. Summer, it's the heart. Autumn is the lungs. Winter is the kidneys. Even those simple things with those 4 organs, for me, that's quite a big thing, which everyone forgets. Everyone treats every clinic day as a different day. Yeah, they are different days, but a clinic day in the spring is completely different to a clinic day in the winter. And in the winter, the kidneys are active. Active's the wrong word because kidneys don't like to do anything. They like to store.
Yeah, I mean, the kidneys are active. I mean, all the organs are active all the time. It's kind of like people in relationships. We are who we are and we interact in the way that we do, but it depends on who we're interacting with and what's going on for us. Are we hungry? Are we not hungry? Are we in harmony with somebody or are we having some kind of a disagreement? Right? This will bring out different aspects. I've heard this stuff and I suspect there are people that practice this way. I've heard of it. You probably have too, this like chronoacupuncture where you decide what the open point is of the moment. And, as long as you do that point, actually, you don't need to really do much in the way of diagnosis because you've hit the point at the right time. And
do you know anyone who practices like that?
Now all is well with the universe, but I'm not sure it really, I don't. Because, look, here's my thought. If it was that simple, you could just have AI do it, right? You got an app on your phone. Here's your open spot. Like, pull out a thumbtack and have at it.
But that's true. But we have to challenge that. Okay, so you're saying that's a simplistic way of doing things, which I partly agree with.
I think it...
And AI could do it. But don't you think...
I think it's simplistic.
With the right amount of information, AI could do pretty much everything in terms of choice of points that you do or that I do.
I thought we were going to talk about time, not AI. I can't believe it's come in this quickly. it's
You brought it up. You did.
Timing. I want, I want to come back to AI in a moment, but I want to backtrack just a little bit because you said that this is a topic, time, timing, and the timeless. So first of all, those 3 words together is just plain evocative. I just want to put a pin in that, no pun intended. That's something worth considering because I think it bespeaks, in a way, maybe something of the essence of what it is to be a human being, because we all experience time, we all experience timing. Man, I got to this place at just the right moment and there was no line, or I happened to meet this girl at the right moment and she talked to me, or, I bought a stock at the right time and I made some money or lost money, whatever. And then timeless. Okay, that's that Tao sort of stuff where anything you say about it is not complete because, anytime you speak, you've just cut yourself off from it. That's an interesting thing. Anyway, and I want to get into these, but I want to start with 20 years ago. Because you said you were noodling on this 20 years ago. You're noodling on it again now. We're having this conversation. You're teaching some classes. What has evolved in that time?
The detail, I think. I've always been interested in change and time gives change. Winter is different to spring, to summer, to autumn. The morning's different to the night. We experience it all the time, every single day and night.
Every breath.
Every single breath. Absolutely. That's why, just why, I think the timeless is so attractive. It's like, if you can be timeless, you're not fazed by any of these things. There is no change, I would say, because the Chinese were very, very interested in time, with their solar calendar, with the stems and branches system. No other culture has that, not in the whole world. And they use it today. Every single Chinese calendar has it on every single page. But timelessness, they were massively interested in timelessness. They talk about the immortals. Okay, maybe you have to go back to the Taoism, to Lao Tzu, to Chuangzi. Chuangzi's stories, he's always talking about the bigger picture. Don't listen to those little twit-twat birds. Watch out for the giant rock, ROC, rock bird, that is almost like the Milky Way or something. He's always saying, wait a minute, we don't have to stay in this frog in the well moment. We can get out of the well and take a look at, the stars. And I think we have that. Here we are in spring. Okay, we see the daffodils, the crocuses coming up. We see all the trees, starting to bud. We see things starting to flower. Fantastic. But every single night you can look up at the stars. And yes, okay, it's moving, but the whole thing is pretty much the same as it was last night, and probably pretty much the same as the day you were born. And it's not going to be that different the day you die. You know what I mean? We have I'm stretching it a bit, but we have a relatively timeless scenario above our heads every single night. And that is part of life. We know we've done all our space exploration. We know a lot more about things. We know that things are traveling at speeds we can't even imagine.
Right, and they're not traveling in linear pathways either. They're traveling in spirals. The whole thing's moving.
Yeah.
Right? I've seen these great little GIFs on the internet where you've got the sun and the sun is moving because the sun is, it's traveling through space at some astronomical amount of speed. And all the planets are going around it. And if you're looking from the point of view of, the sun isn't moving, we're just moving around the sun, then you just see circles around the sun. But if you see the sun is moving, then all the planets are spiraling around the sun as it moves, which is a little bit breathtaking when you think about it. But I want to come back to something you said a moment ago, and I just wrote down time equals change, that it's within time that we see change. We notice change, right? We experience change.
Absolutely.
We've just been talking about that. Timelessness, when I think of timelessness.
But can you even think of it?
That is, well, this is just the thing. Because, look, I think we've all experienced timelessness in our lives. It's usually, at least in my experience, it's been incredibly sweet.
Yeah, it's serene. I'd call it serene.
Nectar kind of moment. And I think it's because in timelessness, there is no duality. There's no duality.
Absolutely right. I agree.
It disappears. For a moment, our duality, which is our dance with time, it just disappears and things just is.
Yeah. But that's massively important in the Chinese vision of things. If you go into
I think it's massively important to just being a human and having a sense of the luminous.
Oh, I don't know if people would say that. Do you think all cultures have the concept of timelessness? I don't know.
I think all cultures probably have some sense of awe, some sense of literally stepping out of time, some sense of connection when there ain't no you there, which is not a song, but it could be.
We could work on that. But that's an interesting concept, isn't it? Of existence. What you're saying is timelessness means you're not there. And in which case, what is you?
Now you're going to get all Buddhist on us.
Not necessarily. I mean, we just have to think these things out and talk them through.
Yeah. No, it's...
And please, I think we have to remember here, I think the Buddhists people are going to hate me. I think the Buddhists have got it easy because their foundations were well laid by the Taoists. Everyone talks about the Buddhists. Everyone talks about Zen. Half of that came, Chan was,
Yeah.
It didn't come from nothing. The Taoists, who don't take credit, they really don't take credit.
Well, look, I think a good Taoist wouldn't take credit.
But I'm not sure that's true of every Buddhist.
Why would they?
I'm not anti-Buddhist. I like Buddhism. I've done Buddhist meditation. I like it. But no one talks about Taoism, Taoist meditation. Yeah, anyway.
Well, I mean, this gets tricky. Again, I was talking with a friend about this the other day. First line of the Tao Te Ching, right? Tao ke Tao, Fei Chang Tao. The Tao that can be spoken is not the true Tao. And I keep wondering, and I'm not trying to be funny here, but I keep wondering, okay, why didn't they just write the end?
But he had a book to write. He had a publisher. He had a publisher.
He had a contract. No, but Peter,
Of course.
seriously, in all seriousness, if you get to that kernel, anything that you can say about the Tao is not the complete Tao. It's not the whole thing.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, done.
I think you're right, but how many...
I don't know if I'm right. I just wonder, why do they have to go on for 81 more?
How many books would have been sold with just that phrase?
So the first line sets the stage with time. Oh, you know what? Maybe it's this.
I think it's to do with the economics.
That first line sets the stage with timelessness.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then the rest of it maybe is about time and timing because we are creatures of time. So if you just go with anything you say about the ultimate is not the ultimate, it's actually not that helpful to us.
No, I think it's a good...
There's moments we have it, but because we're time creatures, we need to know something about time and timing.
I think it's reminding us that the context is bigger. That doesn't offend me. I mean, they're always saying things like that. The mother of all notes, of all musical notes is silence, or something like that. It's going to be the same thing. The grandfather of all the seasons is timelessness. I think they would always see it as a higher level or a deeper level or inner level. Yeah, I don't think they're afraid. I think they like to talk about things that can't be defined. The Taoists, they've got the circle, but the most important bit of the circle is the bit in the middle, because there wouldn't be any outside circumference without the bit in the middle. And if you put the 4 seasons in a circle, what is the bit in the middle? Because it's not in winter, not in spring, not in summer, and not in autumn. It's timeless. And it's right there on the page, staring at you. But there's no big thing saying, I am the timeless. But it's there. It's there. I think it's... But I think we don't think about it enough, which I think is sad.
The timeless piece?
Yeah, the timeless. I think people don't think about timelessness in their lives.
Well, we're all pretty busy.
I think you can call it busyness. Not everyone is busy. Some people are lazy. Some people, they haven't got a job. Things are difficult. All kinds of things happen. I don't know.
If you've listened to this podcast for any length of time, you'll know that I'm a fan of having a small business. Running an acupuncture practice indeed requires attention to detail when it comes to managing your office. And that's why I use Jane to run my clinic. It's not just the excellent EMR or online scheduling system, both of which are a backbone to my practice. Jane also allows me to automate patient communications. They love getting text and email reminders from me, which helps to reduce no-shows. And because I choose the language for these communications, patients think I sent the message myself. They like that personal touch. I'm impressed with how flexible and scalable Jane is. From a small clinic to multiple locations and services, Jane can help you to organize the business side of the house. See how Jane can help you too by visiting jane.app/demo. Sign up for Jane and use the code Qiological to get a 1-month grace period on your new Jane account. But again, these things happen within time.
Even timelessness?
No, I'm talking about a human life. The way that we live it is through time. We get moments. I think we get moments of, I'm going to call it a moment of grace, when time seems to stand still, right? And like you were saying, where's you in that? Because the usual you isn't there, but something is there. Call it consciousness, call it, I don't know.
What does that mean? Who are you then? That's what I want to press on.
In timelessness, who are you?
Do we experience timelessness? Do you experience timelessness? Or do you disappear, which seems to be what you said, when timelessness is experienced? Is it you who experiences timelessness?
Can I have both at the same time?
You can have whatever you want. Of course, you can.
Simultaneously?
Or is it what? Can it not be talked about?
Dao ke dao, fei chang dao. I suspect, Peter, this is why we have poets and art and music.
Yeah, maybe. Yes, maybe.
And painting and dance. You know, all the things that we have that remind us of that. And then later you can talk about it, but you can't talk. It's okay. You know, sometimes in clinic, there are moments. Maybe it's because you've seen a problem enough times. Maybe it's because you've been studying something. Maybe it's the height of the tide or the phase of the moon. I don't know what it is. But there's a moment sometimes in clinic where you're with somebody and you just go, it's this. And then you can go and find, and then you can take the pulse and prove it. And you can, feel the channels and prove it, whatever. But sometimes, and I don't even want to call it intuition, but sometimes there's just a kind of connection that you get with somebody and you know what they need, okay? And it's not wishful thinking and it's not any kind of magical,
Maybe it's experience.
Sketchy shaman thing. It's just, sometimes it's just a moment, things slip in time or out of time. And you were talking a few minutes ago about when the timing is right in clinic, then you're working more efficiently, more effectively. You don't get tired, and your work is more, I'm going to say, attuned to what somebody needs.
Tuned is the perfect word.
But that's more like timing. Not too fast, not too slow. Some people, they move slower, and if you talk fast with them, you lose them. You have to kind of meet them where they are. It's like getting on a running horse.
Yeah, but I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this course for myself, quite apart from teaching it to others, because I think time is a gift. I think it's a gift. And the more we realize the nature of that gift, the more we can use it. I use the image of, I've just written an article actually for, they're called golden flower herbs. Yeah, and I didn't know what to call it. It's basically about spring. And the title in the end was something like, what was it? The Seasoned Surfer's Guide to Spring.
Wait, say that again.
The Seasoned Surfer's Guide to Spring. Okay, that sounds strange. But it's a double use of the word seasoned. Because seasoned is someone who's been through all the seasons, but seasoned also means someone who's mature. They've seasoned, and they've got it, a bit like the person in the clinic who, they got it. They didn't have to go through all the do. And the surfer is the one who catches the wave. The surfer understands basically how to make the ocean work for them, even though they're a little tiny
timing
person. Yeah, exactly. They know about timing. It's when to get up on the board, when to feel. And people who are good, they can do extraordinary things. You can see lots of them on YouTube. That they're just amazing what they can do. And I think we, as acupuncturists or herbalists or any kind of healer, can use time as a gift to help us if we know what is active at the time. I think the summer is the best time to treat the heart because there's so much light and so much openness, which has got massively to do with the heart.
And there's so much yang qi.
Exactly.
It's just everywhere.
Absolutely. And the way they did it. So that's just the 4 seasons. But we also have the 12 moons of the year. And they use that in exactly the same way as the 12 double hours of the day. So, for example, we know with the Chinese clock, so-called, 3 to 5 in the morning is when the lung meridian is active. That's the dawn of the day. So in the classics, all the meridians, all the organs, all the officials come to the lung, and the lung starts the whole thing off. But you have that as well within the year. But I don't understand why that's not in the curriculum. So when the Chinese New Year comes, which is the second new moon after the winter solstice, that's how you get to the Chinese New Year. That's a new moon, and that is the first month for the Chinese. They call that the first month. Actually, they call it the Zhengyue, meaning the correct month. That's the correct time to start the year. And that month, the lung meridian is active for that whole month. So but nobody has.
I hadn't thought of that.
Exactly.
If you think about the year in the same meridian flow.
Yeah, but that is what they do. That's how it works. You have those branches. That is the third branch, which is the lung branch, and it's related to strangely enough, the first month of the Chinese year. So in that time, the liver has just started to be active because it's the beginning of spring. The liver organ is active, if you like, and the lung meridian is active. So in your clinic, you can use the liver and the lung, and they'll be like, really well-trained horses. They're ready to run. It's their time. So that can be helpful. And the next month, the second month, is the large intestine month. And then it's the stomach month, the third month. Then it's the fourth month is the spleen month. And the fifth month, which is in the middle of summer, is the heart month. Summer, heart. Fifth month, heart meridian. Typical season, hot. All these things are coming together. And you have, this massive, axis of the year. There's winter solstice, summer solstice. That works also in Chinese medicine. And we can use these things. They're not esoteric. They're not particularly difficult. But we don't live in a world where we think very much about the seasons, and we certainly don't think about which moon we're in the year. Well, I don't. In England, we don't. I don't know other cultures that do. Interestingly, the Islamic do. Islamic calendar is a lunar calendar. And I know for the Jews, they use solar and lunar.
It's lunar.
Yeah, exactly. It's lunar. Yeah, but so maybe the Jews...
It's lunar.
And the Muslims are using a lunar calendar. But most people in the world, certainly in the West, they don't know what moon it is. They don't know if it's a...
Well, actually they do, because these days with the internet, they'll tell you that, we're having a harvest moon, or we're having a hunter moon, or, look at the sky for the, blah, blah.
That's a full moon. Yeah, the full moon. Only I would say only the full moon is mentioned because it's a hunter's moon or da-da-da.
Right, but the new moon is not.
No, because you can't even see it. You can't see it.
Well, and Peter, here's the other thing.
It's invisible.
Right. Well, this is one of the things I appreciate about the Chinese calendar, actually, is that all the seasons begin before you can feel them or see them. I remember living in Beijing in February.
Absolutely.
It is flipping cold in Beijing in February. Oh, my God. It's brutal. And I remember going to Spring Festival dinners with friends. It's like, happy Spring Festival. And I'm like, it's the middle of friggin' winter.
Yeah.
But it's the spring fest because spring begins now. You can't see it. It happens in the dark. It happens in the cold. But
It's to do with the light.
It's coming.
Absolutely.
And this is the thing I appreciate about the Chinese clock.
Yeah.
Throughout the year, it's coming. It's not here yet, but it's coming. And when it does manifest, like at the equinox, here in the West, we call that spring. They're going, oh, that's mid-spring. Of course you can see it now. It's the middle of spring. It's in the midst. It's at the height of its flourishing.
Absolutely right.
For what it does.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing with summer.
Yeah.
Summer solstice. That's midsummer. Shakespeare had it right.
But all the old Celtic traditions had it right. That's the other interesting thing I found, is that the Chinese vision of the calendar, because they had these midpoints of the seasons, the solstices and equinoxes, but halfway between the solstice and the equinox, that for the Chinese is the beginning of the season, as you've just said. So the beginning of spring.
Yes.
Sounds mad if you live in the north of Denmark. You say the beginning of the spring is February the 5th, and they think spring begins in May or something here, because that's when you feel it. And those are the Ba Jie.
Because that's when you see it.
The 8 Jie. Such a difficult word to translate. It's the node if you have a bamboo, it grows up, and then there's that, it contracts. It grows up, that's the Jie. And these 24 Jie Qi. There's a Jie and a Qi, a Jie and a Qi, a Jie and a Qi. That's how bamboo grows. That's how life grows.
So we're kind of back to timing with that then. Jie is a way of looking at timing. There's a growth spurt. There's a consolidation bit.
Yes, but it also means it means a festival. They're all Jie. They are Jie. They are Jie.
Well, they are Jie, aren't they?
Yeah, it's the node on a bamboo. It's a mark.
That's right.
And it is the festival. That's the time of the festival, because that's the time to celebrate these key points.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
Exactly. Chunjie is what we called Chinese New Year. Yeah, but they never call it Chinese New Year. They call it the Spring Festival.
Spring Festival, yeah.
They never call it Chinese New Year. Never, ever. Yeah, we do, but they don't.
Well, because we're on the outside looking into it. So it's Chinese. It's not Western. We have our own.
We have to be careful with that. As acupuncturists, we should not be too far on the outside looking in. If we are actually practicing Chinese medicine, we have to have some time when we are on the inside looking up. We really do. We can't just be foreign workers. We can't. It's not possible. You have to either speak the language or understand what they're saying, or that's my feeling anyway. That's my feeling. And what I wanted to say, these Ba Jie, these 8 points of the year, the start of the seasons and the equinoxes and solstices, that is exactly the same as the 8 points in the Celtic calendar. Celtic, nothing to do with Chinese. Celtic calendar. They have the solstices and the equinoxes. You know, there's summer solstice at Stonehenge in the UK is a good example. And you can also have the winter solstice at Stonehenge because it's built on that line. And the spring equinox and the autumn equinox when day and night are equal. But they also have the time halfway between the winter solstice and the spring equinox, which is Imbolc, and they have halfway between the spring equinox and the summer solstice, which is Beltane, and halfway between summer solstice and autumn equinox, which is Lugnasad, and halfway between autumn equinox and winter solstice, which is written Samhain, but it's pronounced Samhain, which is basically pretty much what people now celebrate as Halloween. And that's the beginning of winter. So the Chinese call them all different to the Celts, but the Celts and the Chinese came up with the same pattern in the year. Yes, the Chinese then made it 24 solar periods, which we don't have in the Celtic system. But the 8, which are the key points, they are exactly the same. So it's interesting, I think, that different cultures study time and can come to the same conclusions, but call it something different. Because these 24 solar periods, they are 0 degrees and 15 degrees of the 12 zodiac signs. the tropical zodiac, which started in Babylonia in the 1st century BC. Not so different a time. They came to the same conclusions. Of course, the Chinese, they don't have Capricorn and Aquarius and although now they put them in their calendar because it's the same thing.
No,
it's the same thing.
But they've got the stems and the branches. It's the same thing, except it seems to me with the stems and branches, because they've been able to parse it into these like finer and finer gradations, that it's a more complex system. You could just look at that yearly cycle. Oh, it's Aries. Oh, it's this, it's this
Aries, spring equinox. Yeah.
Jia or that Jia. But the thing that to me that's interesting about the Chinese is they have, first of all, you got the 10 and the 12. You got this thing, it's like moving forward, but it wobbles. It's stable, but it wobbles, which is kind of how life feels. It's like, oh, this again. It kind of reminds me of something that came before, but it's not quite the same. It's a little bit different, which is, again, our experience of moving through time. I want to come back to this thing about timing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, and I might just be, a dog with a bone here on this. Timing and the way that we work in clinic, right? There's days, I think we've all had days where you just feel a little bit off. Oh, I missed this, I missed that, I'm running late. I don't know what I'm doing with this person. You get to the end of the day and you're like, ugh. You're just out of sync in some way. And then there's other days. Talk about timing. Like everything just like that. Everything works. You come up with a diagnosis, the treatment that seems to get the results you're looking for. You're not working hard. You're not pushing against. There's days I feel like I'm pushing, and I can get somewhere, but it's hard work.
Do you know why you have those two things?
It's a flow. It's just a flow.
But do you know why? Do you know why you have a good day or a bad day?
I don't know why. That's why I'm asking you about it. How do I get more into the flow and be able to make timing work in my favor?
Yes. How to make time work for you? Yeah, that's the surfer's question, isn't it? The seasoned surfer.
Well, look, I'm fine with surface questions. We all have them. You got to attend to it. Yeah, how can I get time? Okay, you said this earlier in the conversation. Time is on my side, or I'm running up against time. There's two ways of expressing this relationship. So let's talk about getting time on our side.
Well, I think awareness of time is the first thing. I think partly, my course, which I did partly for myself, was...
Isn't that always the way it goes?
Yeah, and I think it should be the way it goes. I always say, I'm the lucky one in the class. We're all studying this. I'm lucky because I'm being paid. But we are all studying it. I don't pretend I'm not studying it. And I do a lot of study in order to teach. So yes, it does go that way. But I think just the first thing, I think that, I don't know, as a culture, or certainly if you are in the healing professions, we need to be much more aware of the passage of time. And I think the Chinese have a really good system because it's sol-lunar. It's not only solar. It also includes the moon. And it really does include the moon. I can talk more about that. And they have the stems and branches, which is a whole other thing that makes people nervous. But it shouldn't really be. It's just a counting system. And with that stem and branch system, and the moons, and the sun, you have really a lot of information of what is happening at this time. And of course, it's different if you're in the north of Denmark than if you're in the south of Spain. It's different, but it's still, the equinox affects everyone in the northern hemisphere. It's a spring equinox. And in the southern hemisphere, it's the autumn equinox. It's affecting the whole earth. That's, I think, the other thing that's fantastic about time. Of course, it's different if you're in Greenland or in the north of Norway. If you're above the Arctic Circle, it's very different. But the Earth is still following this time. The longest day is always going to be June the 21st or whatever. So, and I don't think we have this. at all. You know, the Chinese have basically 6 levels of spring. You know, you begin with the beginning of spring. There's rain water. There's what's it called? The awakening of insects. That's a nice phrase. You know, everything's waking up from being dormant. You know, then there's the spring equinox. Then there's Qingming. Qingming means clear and bright. That's kind of the weather we've got right now.
Yes, we're coming right up to Qingming here as we're recording this. Yeah.
Yeah, we're coming up to Qingming. Exactly. But that's interesting. And Qingming is massively interesting for the Chinese. Yes, it's the real feeling of spring for most people. But it's also the time when they go and sweep the tombs. It's a time to sweep the graves. It's a time to connect with your ancestors. It's a time to go to the grave and have a family picnic, including a place for the person whose grave it is. Because even though they're absent, i.e. no longer living, they are still present because they're part of what created the family in the first place. That's that whole thing of being visible and invisible, and the whole aspect of time and timelessness. On one level, I think they're partners, even though timelessness is so much bigger than time, you know, on one level. But they're partners. I think all of time is within timelessness. Perhaps that sounds a bit crazy, but that's what I think. But to come back, I just think an awareness of time, awareness of the 6 phases of spring, the 6 phases of summer, the 6 phases of autumn, the 6 phases of winter, that really gives you a lot. And understanding...
You know, six shows up a lot in Chinese medicine, right? I'm just thinking about the Qi or the Qing, right? And to think about each season, winter, spring, summer, being divided into 6.
Absolutely.
It's like, oh.
They're divided into 3 months, which is 6 jie-qi, solar periods.
6 jie-qi.
And each of those jie-qi is divided into 3.
It's got its own character.
Yeah, but it's divided into 3. So the Chinese have a whole picture of the year with 72 5-day periods. You know, every 5 days. They say every 5 days you can feel the qi has changed, which is probably true. You know, and I just feel we don't have, well, I'll talk for myself. I didn't have this, what's the word? Personal experience of time. Of course, I knew we were in spring, summer's coming, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, God, if you divide the year into 4 things, that's really not particularly impressive.
Well, it's...
For me. Of course it is, I agree.
Well, but it's not necessarily that useful. Like, okay, summer, good. Let's save some food because we know later we're going to need it.
Well, we don't live in that kind of society, do we?
So, you know, at a very macro level, that's really, really helpful. Here's something I think about this. You know, because Chinese medicine is a very sort of nature-based medicine, and we always talk about observation and observing nature.
Yeah, I agree.
And we love, oh my God, we love to use the nature metaphors because, like,
yeah,
they're pretty, and they work, and they're great metaphors.
Sure, but life is pretty.
But I got to tell you, Peter.
Yes.
You know, as I think about the calendar, and it's taken me a long time to even get the basic idea that things begin before you see them. It's taken me years to get it, that things begin before you see them. Or if you can attune your senses, you can notice things. Like a couple of years ago, we had our grass cut one day, and like 3 days later, I'm looking at the lawn and going, oh my God, this thing needs to be cut. The grass is out of control. And I thought, no, it was cut 3 days ago. This, like, that, how's that possible? And then I looked at the calendar, because I have one of these Chinese calendars, and it was like, oh, look, it's May the 5th. Oh, it's the beginning of summer.
Absolutely.
How do I know it's the beginning of summer? Because you cut the grass, and 3 days later, you need to cut it again. That's summer. Like, oh, okay, now I've got a marker for myself. I can see it. I can see it in nature. I can see it around me. I know a little more about how it feels. I can feel into it. So much of the way, though, that I think we are as moderns, we talk about nature, but I don't think we spend that much time in it. We like to talk about being out in nature.
I agree with you.
Right? Like go for a walk and be in nature and blah, 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 observe nature. But when someone's got a kidney problem or a fluid metabolism issue, how much time do we spend sitting by a stream and observing how water works, or sitting by a pond and just sitting and observing and pondering until we get an idea what the hell is going on with our patient? Like, I don't do that. I don't know anyone who does, but we like to talk about the sages who do that. As we're having this conversation,
We have to reclaim our sagehood.
well, okay, that's
Don't give it to the sages.
that's a tall order, and maybe, but I realize as we're having this conversation, we're talking about how things are divided up. It gives me a clue as to where to look for something when. And I think that's helpful because for me, the idea of like, well, just go out and observe nature. Like, okay, what am I looking for?
Easier if you have a dog. If you have a dog, the dog will teach you.
Well, dogs are, I guess, kids.
No, the dogs are experts.
Yeah?
Yeah. No, we have a big dog, and I go down to the sea every day. And it's happened so many times. I'm just walking along. There's no one on the beach. I don't see anyone. And he stops and looks back at the dunes and just fixes. About probably 45 seconds later, 3 people appear in exactly the place he's been looking at already for 45 seconds. Now, they say, I can't remember what it is. Dogs have 40 times the smell power that we have. And their ears, they can hear things that I'm just like a deaf person walking on the beach. And his walk is quite different, I realize, to my walk. I mean, yes, he's sniffing and he's doing all kinds of things, but he is always in front of me, nearly always, from seeing someone on the horizon. And it's not just do they have a dog or not. He sees the person. They become part of his world. And it's like his world is bigger than my world. I'm going down to the beach, maybe with my head full of thoughts or whatever. And, it's nice, it's fresh and all kinds of things. But I'm having a different walk than Luke, our dog, because I'm less aware. It's because I'm less aware. And I think a lot of our problems, as you said, as moderns, I quite like that, we've lost awareness. We have awareness of other things, maybe, but we have lost awareness of our, insertion into nature.
We've lost awareness of our surroundings.
Yeah, but it's more than that, because nature gives the rhythm of life in the year. Yes, of course you're right, it is the surroundings. But it's, are the trees in blossom or, which trees are and which trees aren't. And, all these things which would be massively important if we couldn't just go to the shops and go to the apothecary or whatever. If there's a doomsday scenario, everyone's going to get super sharp at knowing when that tree comes out, when those herbs come up. We've lost it. We have really genuinely lost it. And it's not been good for us. It's not been good for us as people. And I think with this aspect of studying time, you become more aware of time and you become part of, the gestalt, what is it? The part of, you become reinserted into life. I think that's what I want to say. So it's good for you and it's good for your clients, and you have other things that you can use understanding time that maybe you just forgot.
In clinic, there's no such thing as a small detail. The needle you reach for, the formula you prescribe, the moment you choose to listen just a little bit longer. Your patients place their trust in you, and you deserve to place the same trust in the tools that you use. At Blue Poppy, they hold their products to the same standard that you hold your care. Herbal formulas crafted for efficiency, needles that perform the way you expect them to, clinic essentials that arrive on time. Because when your tools are dependable, your focus stays where it belongs, on your patients. No guesswork, no compromises, just steady support behind the scenes. Blue Poppy, the choice of practitioners since 1982. I think there's a lot that we've forgotten. Our senses have become less acute. We don't need to know when certain herbs come up because we go to the store. In some ways, Peter, I think you are describing the problems of living in a life and a society and a moment where we have such ridiculous abundance, including heat in the winter, including fresh water at the turn of a tap.
Yeah.
So the senses that we've had when we didn't have those, they have atrophied.
But I'm not sure our health has improved. You
know, it's hard to say. People live longer than they.
Yes, that's.
You know, it's a problem here because.
Yes, they do.
As people age and there's fewer younger people, there's fewer people to keep Social Security going, and.
Yeah, and in that way, that is true. Yeah.
So in some ways, we are suffering from abundance.
I hate to say it, but a lot of old people are really not healthy at all. And they can still survive. Maybe because of drugs. Maybe because, as you say, they live in a warm house. They're not killed off by the winter.
They're not killed off by the winter.
No, but the French had a wonderful saying about that. They said, "Il ne passera pas l'hiver," looking at an old man. He will not last the winter. And it was true. That guy died in the winter because he did not live in a centrally heated house. He didn't have enough money for decent food, and he died. And that was how it was everywhere. So many people died in the winter.
Yes, and again, we have enough abundance and affluence to prevent that. Is that helpful or not? I mean, that gets into a whole ethical thing, which we may or may not have time for.
It's a big question, isn't it, about old age?
It is a big question.
No, but really a big question about old age. Yeah, it's a very big question. You know, should you keep people alive? It's really a big question.
As I get into old age, I am more and more aware of that question.
Well, yeah. You could also ask, you know, if you have kids, should your kids have to spend time looking after you? Because in the old days, that's what always happened. The old people, you know, it was a family grouping. That's what happened. But we don't live in that. Well, certainly here, they don't live in that kind of society. And, when I go walking in herbs, I collect herbs and I make herb teas and stuff. No one collects herbs here. Zero people. Nobody collects herbs. They collect the elderberries to make elderberry juice. That's it. But there are wonderful herbs here. People don't even know they're there.
Yes. Well, again,
maybe it's a good thing. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, nature is less, molested by humans that way. I don't know. But again, we live in a time. This is something I think about with Chinese medicine. People say, how did they figure out acupuncture? We hear this question all the time. How'd they figure that out? And I've got no idea, other than a hypothesis I have of ancient people had a sensorium. They had senses and an acuity to their senses because of the very things we're talking about. You need to know something about your place and the timing of it and the season and what might be coming and your relationship to it, or you might die. So people had to have a much more keen feeling for the environment, and our senses were way differently attuned if you're an ancient Chinese person than if you're a modern person having a podcast conversation across the ocean looking at each other's pixels because light is moving through a fiber optic cable.
We are lucky. Yeah, we are lucky.
Talk about miracles.
Depends what we're talking about. We can use that time to talk complete rubbish.
Well, some would call this complete rubbish, depending on what you're interested in. So I think I just want to kind of summarize this for a second and just run this by you to see if I'm following your line of thought. Time, timing, and the timeless. Again, time to me seems this is where we experience change. Time equals change, basically. You could make a very simple equation. I have a simple mind, so simple equations are helpful. So time equals change. How do you know time is passing? You see changes. How do you measure time? Well, you measure it by the changes of watching a little thing tick along on your wrist.
It's a change of light.
That's one way to see it.
It's light.
And and you watch change all around you. Oh, look, there's rust on that thing. Wasn't there before, right? Oh, that cat, it's got gray hair. It didn't have gray hair before. Whatever. And then there's the timeless.
Did we do timing?
Where there is no time. There's no duality in the timelessness.
Hooray.
Right? Time is ultimate duality. And timelessness, no duality, which leaves us in the middle. The thing that I think is actually maybe the most interesting, which is timing. That to me suggests a level of comprehension of processes.
And awareness, I think.
A level of skill, the ability to go.
Awareness first, yeah.
Not yet, right? I think about the surfer. Not yet. Oh, it's coming. Not hold, wait. It's like when dating somebody, right? Think about timing the first time you dated your wife. Like, do I kiss her now or do I wait a little bit? All right. Or eating a festive meal. Do I snarf it down or do I take my time and eat this and eat that and slow down and drink a little wine and talk to people? So it seems to me timing is where something like skill can arise.
I agree.
Because you have to be...
There's no timing without awareness.
Attentive.
And I think we've lost awareness. And without awareness, I think most people have no sense of timing.
No sense of timing?
No, I think...
What are you looking at? What are you seeing that leads you to this conclusion?
In treatment. Let's focus it on treatment. I mean, of course, you're aware of age and aging, but I think the relationship of the patient to the outside world, or to nature, let's put it to nature, I don't think that's on anyone's agenda in their list of questions or their list of things they need to think about. Or it's not on mine. Let me be honest. I don't know what other people do.
Okay. So it's not, okay, so here's an interesting thing. It's not on your agenda, but you're aware of this and that it's not on your agenda. So in some way...
It is now on my agenda, but it wasn't before.
Okay. All right. So what brought it onto your agenda? How did that happen?
I think just wanting to know more about the detail of time. I think the Chinese, they have a sophisticated view of time and a very detailed view of time. We mentioned the 72 5-day periods, the 24 15-day periods. I forgot to mention the I Ching also comes into this because the 64 hexagrams, they put 1 hexagram for each of the 4 seasons. So that leaves you with 60. And those 60 hexagrams, they put them out in a particular way, not the order of the I Ching that you have in a book, but they line them up. Every 6 days, there's a different hexagram. And
we're back to the 6 again, aren't we?
We're back to the 6 again, and we're back to time equals change. Because if the I Ching...
That's what I was just saying.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I'm agreeing with you. You're saying time is change, and they're saying, yeah, time's change, and we'll stick all those hexagrams in the I Ching as 6-day periods.
Okay, so Peter...
Which are, I've studied the I Ching, and it's to me, it's really fascinating to see it. Really, really, really fascinating. And to me, that was an awareness. You asked, how did acupuncture come about? Well, how did the I Ching come about? And how? Who thought of the 24 solar periods and the 72 5-day periods? You know what I mean? People, clever people, for lack of a better expression, or inspirational people, intuitive people, they created a whole system. which is still used now in every Chinese calendar. Incredible. And we don't.
Okay, I want to bring this back to clinic.
Yeah, sure.
Because I'm always bringing it back to clinic. I can't help myself.
No, but do. That is also my aim. It's not just to understand time better.
Yeah, I mean, for me, if I can't use it somehow, then it's interesting, but blah, blah, blah. So you just said we've got the hexagram, 64 of them, 4 at each cardinal point every 6 days.
4 for the seasons, yeah.
Every 6 days you get a new hexagram. So now I'm thinking, man, like that's basically once a week you get a new hexagram.
Absolutely.
So is that something that you're looking at these days? Like, oh, the hexagram of this week is...
Yeah.
I don't know, thunder.
Absolutely. Probably the
And that might mean something about the influences.
Absolutely it does, yeah. It definitely does. Yeah, the way it's... because, the I Ching, it's a hexagram, a 6-line system, isn't it? And it's a trigram on the top and a trigram on the bottom. So you got thunder on the top and earth underneath, or thunder on the top and heaven underneath. And I've studied the I Ching from the Chinese and with the trigrams. So for me, this is another way of studying the I Ching as another, what's the word? Sequential flow of change. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I can see that. Even I can grasp that.
Yeah, well, it's not difficult.
Have you...
Yeah, fascinating.
Been watching or been attentive to, like, okay, this week, this hexagram, and then noting if there's a theme that shows up with your patients or a theme to the work you're doing, or...
No, it's a good thing. I should do that more. I have definitely looked at how it relates to nature outside of me, in my daily walks and just living in the countryside, basically. I'm not living in London anymore. So in that way I have. I haven't looked at these 6 days is the hexagram number 40, which is Jie, which is release. That would indicate this is a good time to help the patient release their stuck chi or whatever, But I think that would be quite a good, good thing to consider. And I think these things can be done quite simply. You can write the hexagram in your clinic book. But because you can say exactly when in the 24 solar periods, when they begin, and when the 5-day periods begin and end, when the hexagrams begin. You know what I mean? You've got a lot of things to look at, apart from the fact it's Tuesday. Yes, it's Tuesday, but it's it's an early spring Tuesday with a release hexagram.
Yeah,
you could. I'm sorry to bring AI up again, but here AI could be fantastic.
Well, it would be very, very helpful. AI. What are the what are the stems and branches for the day? What's the hexagram?
Yeah, and
is it a fire day, a water day?
Yeah, but all these things can easily be there and be easily seen. Because that's what you do, when you have a Chinese calendar. Every single day they put the 4 pillars or the 8 characters. Every single day you have the year, fire horse. You have the month, a water dragon month or whatever. You have the day, changing every day, and you have the hour. That's what they have on their Chinese calendars. And that's just for the stems and branches. But you also know which of the 24 solar periods you're in, and you know which day of the moon you're in. That is a Chinese calendar. You're given all that information, and we just think it's Tuesday, the 6th of March.
Okay.
Is that helpful? So I just think
So I
maybe it's because we're moderns. I don't know. I quite like that idea. But I don't want to say the ancients knew everything. I don't think it was as simple as that. But I think they did.
I don't think they knew everything. They didn't have AI.
No, but they knew things that we have lost.
Yes, they knew things that we have lost.
And I don't think I don't think that's necessary. I think that we can have pretty much what they had and not chuck it out with the bathwater and not exchange it for AI like I'm useless. I'm not useless at all. Just give me the information and I can make a better treatment and I can be more in tune with the time. That's how I would put it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always respectful for the Chinese as a culture, because I think they're a very innovative culture, inventing, I don't know, paper, matches, umbrellas, wheelbarrows. You know what I mean? It's a good culture.
Acupuncture.
Acupuncture, quite. And even defining what a healer is. They would do acupuncture and moxibustion, herbs, qigong, massage, and diet. That's... Most acupuncturists I know don't do that. So...
Well, you could just study and practice acupuncture apart from the other pillars of Chinese medicine.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I do.
And you would never run out of interesting things to study and explore and do.
No, absolutely not. That's the other thing I've been doing.
It's just so fascinating.
Is studying points and making articles about points. And because I'm getting old, when I write something, I kind of wanted to say everything that I'm capable of giving it. I'm giving my best.
So you bring up being old, and lately I've had a number of folks on the podcast that are, in their late 60s, 70s. We've talked about different things like retirement because at a certain point, I think I notice for myself, I tend to step away from some things that used to be very interesting to me, but now they're no longer interesting. So I just kind of step away from it because I'm leaving that for someone who's younger and engaged, because I am no longer engaged. So fair enough, there's that. But then there's something else that catches my attention. There's something else that's like, it's now my job to do this. And I hear you saying something similar, that as you get older, your attention is changing. And the kinds of work that are important to you, they're different.
I know there's less time. And I've also, I've studied, even people I admire. Past 80, most people past 80 don't have that much to offer. Most people. A lot of people have died before then.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 72. So what does that mean? I have 8 years. I mean, I try and keep good, I've always had the feeling I'll die at 88. Why, I don't know. And my mum, who died at 92, she always said, everyone should be put down at 90. From 90, her life, her health was poor.
Mm-hmm.
And it was no fun.
Yes, and another time she would not have survived the winter.
Well, no, of course she wouldn't. Of course she wouldn't. No, absolutely. And, where I live, we've had a very cold winter and spring. If we didn't live in a decent house, most people would die within a week, I think.
Yes. So as you're in your 70s and as you're coming back to this thing with time, I'll be curious to hear what else you come up with over the next, stretch with that.
Oh, I have aims, and time was my first thing to do a proper series, helpful series on timing and the timeless. I want to do one on the I Ching, not just another translation of the I Ching, but the use of those 64 hexagrams.
Yes, well, I'm hearing you connect them with time and with these sort of mini nodes, as it were.
Yeah, but that's also fascinating to me, that it is, for the Chinese, it is a part of time. And it's not mentioned very much either. People mention the 72 phrases. I do a lot of research. Obviously, some of it's online. In fact, I haven't seen people talking about it. But I think the concept of change is massively important. And I think on one level, the I Ching is the first Chinese philosophy book. A lot of what was in there later. Anyway, that's just my own interest. And I also want to do Neidan, which is internal alchemy and its relationship to medicine. It's going back into Taoism in some ways and into what some people, I don't like the word, but some people would say it's esoteric or it's spiritual. Yes and no. It's how can you keep healthy and how can you grow into or become an authentic human being? And I love that image of authenticity, Jen.
Yeah, Jen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And my other one is the points. Good understanding and good presentation of, I don't know if I'll ever make 100 points, but 60 points maybe.
Peter, I think it's very helpful to have some things to aim at that we might not be able to achieve.
Don't say things like that.
I just think it's good to aim high. I think for me, it's been helpful to aim higher than lower. It's been more helpful to aim at something that I might fail at, but I would rather fail in the process of attempting something.
Yeah, there is that.
Larger than succeed at being smaller.
Yeah, maybe there is that as well.
But that's just me.
No, I completely understand that. And I think these are big things.
They are big, and I appreciate this conversation.
They're very big things. But, I don't feel like I'm dying.
No, you're actually... Well, you are dying. There is that. But the question is, what kind of living are you doing in the midst of it?
And something to do with time. I realized on my second birthday, I don't know if I can explain this properly, but 1 year for the Earth is basically something like 26,000 years because of the precession of the equinoxes. So you go through 12 ages or whatever. I'm not explaining it well, but 72 days is 1 day in a 26,000 day cycle. So my life so far, 72 years, is the equivalent, relatively, of 1 day. The Earth has aged a day in the time it's taken me to age 72 years. Because we all have completely different time cycles. A mayfly or a gnat or a mosquito, there are no mosquitoes that have lived for 72 years. But there are tortoises who've lived longer than me. And this thing of what is the number of years of a proper cycle for a human being? And I think I'm right in saying in the Su Wen chapter 1, or is it 2, their cycle was they thought we should live for 120 years in the kind of image of the golden age, if you want to put it like that, which is interesting.
Which would be 2 cycles of 60.
It's exactly 2 cycles of 60.
Brings you back to where you began.
Which is very interesting.
Yeah, you would exit where you began.
And I remember when I went to California and did a seminar with Mikishima, who is Japanese but lived in America for a long time. And he told me that at age 60, you were given a coffin because in the old days, not many people lived for long. That was quite a decent life. And you were given a coffin so that you could lie in it and practice letting go of your hun while you were in the coffin. Because when you die, your hun and po, which are doing very well together, are going to separate. The po is going to degenerate with the physical body, and the hun leaves. So when you're age 60, in the old Japanese days, that was the time for that kind of practice. Practice for a good death on one level, which I think is fantastic. And I like that idea that when you're 60, you have done a full cycle of the stems and branches, and you start again. When you're 61, you're like 1.
You're starting at 1, except if you came in a yang phase, now you're doing the opposite. You're doing the yin phase, which is why 120, is considered the full human measure. But yes, I get it. That
Sure, but how many people are living to 120? I had, in all my time of practice, to my knowledge, I only had one patient who lived to be over 100. I probably had others that I didn't know about, but it's not that common.
it's not. And again,
And that's only 100. That's not 120.
it's what we do at that time, I think, that really matters.
But absolutely, of course.
And what we do with the timing. Now you've really got me thinking about timing.
Well, I think it's yeah, and it's also interesting, being in your early 70s, and I see all these younger people, my children, grandchildren. When you see someone who's 28, I can remember being 28 and what I was doing, and my life completely changed really when I was 28, 29, 30. Really changed. It's when I started studying acupuncture. So no, but that's been my mainstay of living and my interest. And my interest continues now when I'm 72. I'm just as interested now as I was then. I haven't lost it.
Yeah, well, you know what that means, don't you?
No.
It means you've had a damn good run.
I think I have had a damn good run on some level.
You've had a damn good run, and you're not done yet. Yeah, we'll have to check back in, and I want to hear more about the points in another conversation.
Oh, the points. That's so wonderful. I'll send you some of my articles. Yeah.
We can pick that up in another conversation.
Yeah. But yeah.
That'd be great. All right, Peter Firebrace.
So thank you so much for our podcast and our exchange of ideas. It's been nice listening to you as well.
I have enjoyed this time with a moment or two of timelessness in it as well.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to get back into timelessness. I think funnily enough, with all these studies, I have become too much into time and not enough into the timeless. I think when I was younger, I was much more into the timeless. And I'd like to reestablish timelessness.
Yeah. I think that's actually an excellent practice.
For me, it's to do with, for me anyway, it's nearly always to do with Qigong or meditation. But that's for me anyway.
Right. Well,
thanks a lot.
Until the next time then.
Thanks, Michael.
When Peter said he wanted to have a conversation about time, timing, and timelessness, I thought, wow, that's a great idea. Those are such fascinating concepts. And when you think about how we work and when you think about how we often think about nature and the permutations of nature and how we think about yin and yang, how we think about the seasons, the six qi, all of this time, timing, and time, well, I'm not sure how timelessness quite fits into clinical work, actually. But for sure, timing is something because, well, like you see it in the Shanghan Lun, there's a lot in there about timing. When something happens, there's external cold, the body responds a certain way at a particular time. You'll see these symptoms. At another time, it could progress. Or if you treat it right, it goes away. Timing's a big thing. One of the things that I really loved about this conversation was looking at time as equaling change, that when we're in time, we are embedded in a stream of change. It's a very dualistic way of being in the world, which is mostly how we are in the world. And then on the other side, looking at timelessness, I think about those moments of grace that I've had and how there is no sense of time. And when there is no sense of time, when the timelessness arrives, there is no me there. As Peter was saying, who is the you that is there in the timelessness? It really is an experience that you can't quite put words around. It is the Tao Te Ching saying that which can be spoken is not the true Tao. It's the way that the Hebrews don't use the name of God, because even to consider you could say the name of God already, you've cut yourself off from what is limitless. A limited being cannot describe the limitless. And so that timelessness, that non-dual glimpse of something, maybe it's where we came from, maybe it's where we're going to, I don't know. But I certainly know that in this life, those moments when it arises, they're precious. And the in-between piece, the timing, this, especially for me as a practitioner, is where I feel like I have some agency. It's where I feel like I have an opportunity to learn something about how to be more helpful to my patients on one hand, but also how to be able to know when to do what and when not to do something. You know, I think about, like in marriage, sometimes your spouse comes home and you know now is not the right time to have a certain conversation. Or likewise, there are moments where you know this is the time to have a particular conversation. So timing, how we are in the permutations of change, how we are with the people around us, how we are in our practices. I think it's a wonderful opportunity to explore timing in the people that we work with. I loved what Peter had to say. Use less effort, get more results. At the end of the day, you're not tired. You still have energy. It makes me realize, and I've had this experience, you probably have had too, that when your timing is on, so much can happen. So I really appreciate this time I've had with Peter. I hope that you found it useful as well. And if you have some thoughts about time, timing, and timelessness, I'd love to hear it. Send an email.